my little pin here because I have the metallic metal piece exposed. So I'll leave that leaning off the edge of the table. And we're going to flip the power supply on and see if this works. Ready? I don't see why it wouldn't work, right? I'm a techie and a gamer, right? Techie should know about this stuff, so right? So what could go wrong, right? Ready? So 3, 2, 1. What up, techies and gamers? It's your boy Jermaine back with another new video. Welcome to Tech Toys and Gaming. Tell me, have you ever built a PC only to find out at the end, after pressing the power button, that it just doesn't turn on? Have you ever asked yourself, why didn't I test this power supply even before I installed it? Why didn't I test any of my parts before I installed it into my case anyway? Well, if you've been a victim of this sort of tragedy where you built everything, cables tied, everything nice and secure and snug in its place, and you press that power button and it doesn't turn on, then you're not alone. I have actually done that and been stumped at the end of it, only to troubleshoot for about an hour plus trying to figure out why in the world is this not powering up. So if you want to go ahead and test your power supply even before you go ahead and install it, tie in the cables and everything to your case, stay tuned because that's what we're going to be doing in this video with Jermaine with Tech Toys and Gaming.
What? I said that already in the intro.
And voila, here we are in my workbench where I have all the components I'm gonna need to test my power supply to make sure that it is nice and functional before I even decide to lay out the cables and try to figure out how I'm gonna connect it to my motherboard, tie it to my case, all of that stuff. We're gonna take it out of the box. Well, it's out of the box already. Out of box, and we're gonna show.
We're gonna show you. There's just one of me. Why are we gonna show what?
And I'm gonna show you how you can actually test this power supply in a couple of ways to make sure that it's working before you plug it in and you find out that the power supply is not working and you have to undo all of the fantastic cable management work you've done with all of your ties to your case. So go ahead, stay tuned. Let's go ahead and look at the roster we have here. It's not a lot. You only need a few components.
Components? You don't need a component.
You only need a few components. Obviously, you need your power supply. So for testing, I'm going to be using the EVGA 600 Bronze Q, BQ, right? Let's see if it actually focuses. Right, we're going to use this EVGA standard semi-modular EVGA semi-modular power supply, right? 600 watts, right? It's pretty decent, though it will not support any of the standard RTX 3080s, definitely not and above, but we're going to use one of these bad boys for testing, right? All we need is a power supply. I would recommend that anyone trying to do this testing get themselves, you can get any generic kind of surge protector, as long as the device does some surge protecting and flipping off so that it doesn't flip your circuit breaker, or even worse, cause a fire, explosion,
Atomic bombs!
I would recommend using a surge protector for sure. Right here, I'm going to be using this GE generic surge protector, nothing special. Probably like $5.99 in the store, CVS or something. And of course, you need your power supply cable for your power supply, right? So you can plug it into this guy here, and this guy gets plugged into your wall, and we have some safety measures going, right? And last but not least, we need the most sophisticated and technical device of all of these, right? And that is the paperclip. Get yourself a nice paperclip. For my testing, I'm going to be using this is not even a full-size paperclip. It's one of those smaller ones, right? You can handle probably a couple sheets of paper. Use that for this testing. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine for this test. This is going to make the connection from one pin to the other, so probably not the safest way to do it. There are power supply jumpers that you can purchase for anywhere between $5, $10, where you can actually plug it into your power supply 24 pin connector, and it's probably the safest bet to jump your power supply to test it. Suppose you don't want to do that and you don't want to spend, $5, $10 or whatever and wait for your shipment to come in. You can just test it right now on the fly with some home supplies, right? Everyone has one of these. Everyone has well, maybe everyone has a surge protector. I would recommend you have this if you don't. And of course, your power supply and your power cable. So, but this is just one method we're gonna test it with. We're gonna test it as well with just a simple motherboard and power supply as well as power, right? Connected to your power strip. All right, so there's
2 ways we're gonna do it.
first, let's go ahead and
Let's do it the dangerous way.
so first and foremost, let's go ahead and get our power strip connected to power in our walls, wherever you have your power connection going, right? So we're gonna connect this bad boy right here into our power. Give me a second, I'll be right back.
346 minutes later.
All right, so I have my power strip connected to the power source, your wall, right? Get electricity. And I also took the liberty of taking the power cable for the power supply and plugging it into the surge protector, right? Let's go ahead and dive into what we're gonna actually need to do with the power supply regarding the pins itself and the paper clip, right? So essentially what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to bring it up to the camera. For this particular EVGA cabling, I actually have a 24-pin power supply connector, right? However, I do have it where I can actually use it in the configuration for 20 pins, right? So you see that there's actually a separation here. I can just either use 20 or 24 pins. So for this example, we're gonna show what you would need to do for either 24 or the 20 pin connector, right? Which actual pins you will be sliding your paper clip into to get that awesome jump. So first, let's start with the 24 pin configuration so that you can see which pins you would actually need to be jumping, where you would need to be sticking your paper clip ends into from one point to the other, right? Pins are laid out in order from 1 to 12 on the bottom row and 13 to 24 along the top. And if you're wondering which is the bottom and the top row is the higher numbers and the bottom row are the lower numbers. The pin count starts from right to left, right? The far most right being number 1 all the way down to number 12 at the far right on the bottom. And then along the top, you start at 13, 14, going all the way across to 24 on the far left, right? So, and it's the same thing if we didn't have the actual 24 pin, we had the 20 pin, it would be 1 to 10 and then 11 to 20 along the top. So bear that in mind, little pin layout order number schooling, take it back to school. So starting with the 24 pin layout, we'll need to connect pins number 16 and 17 at the top. Basically, this is how it goes. Starting from the top, I guess, depending which way it's facing. Right now I have the pins facing away from me just because I'm trying to show you, but you probably can't see from that far anyway. So with the pins facing you, right, along the very top left,
Pins facing you.
top left is your 13th pin on the 24 pin connector. All right, on the 10 pin connector, it's your 11th pin. So starting from 13, we're gonna go 13, 14, 15, 16. Fourth pin from the left top row is your PS on, right? Your actual power supply, power on button. So when you actually flick the button on your PC, it's gonna make connection with that specific pin too as well. And right after that fourth pin is the 5th pin, which is the 17th pin. And that is a comms pin, also known as a ground pin. So we're gonna jump from the 16th pin to the 17th pin. From the 4th at the top left to the 5th top left, right? So
Let's go ahead and do that right now. Where's my paper clip? Here to go.
13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So these two here. Now this is the 24 pin configuration. Now, if I were to remove these 4 pins here, it's the 20 pin configuration, and it's still the same. Starting from the top left, it's still the 4th and 5th pin from the top left, right? You're still gonna jump the 4th and 5th pins from the top left, right? We're gonna plug up our power supply. All right, techies and gamers, so effectively I have my power surge protector set to off. We're going to flip that on, right? We actually have this plugged into the surge protector. And we are currently connected to our power supply with the power supply switch power button flipped to off. So important to note that you want to have this off when you're connecting your cabling or anything, right? Make sure this is always in the off position before you start to plug in any cables to your power supply, okay? Once everything's connected, you got your cabling running to your surge protector, you got your pins jumped, you are ready for action, right? So with everything all connected, we are ready to flip the power switch on and test to see if this actual device works. All right, techies and gamers, we are all connected from end to end, coming from our current of electricity, from my wall, my circuit breaker in the box. Hopefully I don't flip it. Let's go ahead and power this on and see if this works, right? I'm gonna leave my little pin here because I have the metallic metal piece exposed, so I'll leave that leaning off the edge of the table. And we're going to flip the power supply on and see if this works. Ready? I don't see why it wouldn't work, right? I'm a techie and a gamer, right? Techie should know about this stuff, so right? So what could go wrong, right? Ready? So 3, 2, 1. And it worked. Look at that. Look at
The fan's spinning.
it works just fine, right? The power supply is actually working, so not much else I have to do here, right? This is one method. So let's jump over to the easy way, right? Suppose you just have all your pieces and you have your motherboard out. We're gonna plug it directly into the motherboard. Boom, here we are with the motherboard and power supply. And we're gonna test it just by plugging directly into this motherboard just to see if we get any kind of pulse coming out of this power supply connected. This should automatically create a jump situation where the power supply turns on simply because it is plugged in to the 24-pin connector. On the motherboard, I'm using the Asus ROG Strix B450i ITX motherboard. This is actually the motherboard I have in my system itself. This is the motherboard I'm using daily to do my gaming with an RTX 3080 and a Ryzen 5 3600. This motherboard is pretty sweet, but it's not all about this motherboard. We'll get into that in another video, right? If you want me to review this, let me know. Put in the comments, hey, I want to get that motherboard.
Put a review up.
All right, I did a lot of testing on it anyway with my machine, so probably could do a good review on this. But that's the motherboard we're using. So that's the B450i, right? Kind of beefy, right? So we're essentially going to connect all 24 pins to this motherboard. Now, as you can see here with my power supply actually in the off position, right? Still connected and powered off. I'm going to connect this 24-pin connector directly to the motherboard, right? Where else am I going to connect it to? Make sure you get that nice snap in. Let's see. So right now we are, okay, so no signs of life while you're plugged in. That is quite interesting, but let's see what happens when I hit this, when I hit the switch. We have liftoff with the power supply. It looks great. And that's all there is to it, techies and gamers. And if you have any comments, any questions, I know I didn't answer or mention everything that's entailed in this, but just a quick little demonstration to show you how easy it is to set. Let me turn this off. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for stopping by. And if you like this kind of content, you learned something, you want to learn more, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell notification too. Might as well. That way you know when I produce my next new video and I pop up in your face. And let me take this apart before I start a fire. Catch you in my next new tutorial or my gameplay, or when I'm just sipping tea. Why would I make a video sipping tea or drinking coffee?